Bienvenidos a el Chuco Sportscast con tus anfitriones MarkTep25 y RedMT25. ¿Qué pasó, mi gente? Es MarkTep25 otra vez y bienvenidos a un otro episodio del Chuco Sportscast. Creo que es episodio 22 más o menos. Yo soy el MarkTep25 y este es mi hermano Mario. ¿Qué pasó ese?
Nada más, bro. Tranquilo.
Tranquilito. Ándale pues, dude. Vamos a empezar. So yeah, guys, it's been a bit. It's been a little bit. We've had a lot going on in our lives. My brother just graduated. Felicidades, ese. Felicidades.
Thank
So
you.
that's going to be awesome. You know, we're just here chilling now. The school year that I'm substituting at is going to end next week, but I'm going to actually start moving this upcoming week to a new place, and then I'll get things a little bit more situated, and we'll do a few more of these episodes. But I wanted to at least get another episode out right now because we're about to get into the thick of the NBA playoffs, and I kind of just wanted to talk a little bit about that. But before we get to that, we're going to talk a little bit about like the WNBA and a few other things too. But yeah, man, it's been a bit. It's been hectic as hell. I've been going through a lot. Mario's been going through a lot, but it's good to get back on an episode. So, vámonos. So, the first thing I want to at least share with y'all is something I kind of saw on Facebook from the EPHS alumni page. You know, we're from El Paso. We're rocking the EP shirts right now. Like, I'm El Paso Chihuahuas. Maybe we'll cover some of their stuff in the future. And Mario's wearing his El Paso Strong shirt. But, you know, we're El Chuco. Might as well talk about some El Chuco stuff, right? So on here, it says that, you know, these are the 12 oldest high school football programs in Texas. You may not be able to see it on the, you know, the audio podcast, but if you're watching it on our YouTube channel, you'll see here the 12 oldest high school football programs in Texas. We, El Paso, I still say we because we're alumni, are the third oldest high school football program in Texas. That's pretty damn impressive. I did not even know that. And it's you know, it's awesome when you have such a long-standing, you know, tradition. You know, that's what, if you all are not from El Paso or know much about EPHS, we're very tradition-based, you know. We love our traditions. But yeah, that's pretty cool. And, you know, shout out to all these other high schools that you're seeing right here, you know, with Galveston, Groesbeck, Houston Science and Math, Fort Worth Pascal, Dublin, Forney, Bonham, Dallas Adamson, Weatherford, Corsicana, and Mejia. So those are the ones that are there. So that's pretty cool. It's really cool to see that. So next thing, we're going to kind of talk about a little bit about since the WNBA has kind of been in full swing, and I want to talk a little bit more about WNBA now, since there's a Dallas team. And granted, there's been a Dallas team since I think 2017, maybe even a little further, which I never knew. If I'd known that, I would have gotten into the WNBA a lot sooner. And it's not like I never did. It's just the games were always on at weird hours, and I never got a chance to. However, now we're about to see something very interesting, as its 25th season is here. The WNBA agreed to a multi-year partnership with Google. This article came out on May 3rd, and Google is trying to kind of help, you know, up the viewership and, you know, collaborating on 25 for 25. So, which is 25 regular season ABC and ESPN nationally televised games in celebration of the 5th season. And Google will be an associate sponsor of the upcoming ESPN film projects, which like ESPN 30 for 30 and stuff. So that's going to be really, really cool for them. And I'm happy for them. And dude, like the jerseys, I was looking on Twitter, which you should get, by the way, Ese. Bro, okay, before I continue, Mario, si nuestro padre está en Twitter, necesitas ganar un Twitter, güey. You need get on that shit, man. If our own dad is on Twitter, man. But anyhow, yeah, dude, dad got a Twitter.
Oh, I didn't know this. He's the last person I would have expected.
Like, I was so surprised. Like, oh shit, no mames. Okay, well, but no, that's cool. No, I think that's cool.
I'll look into it. We'll get it set up after you and I get our moving taken care of. But yeah.
Yeah, but definitely, dude. But yeah, overall, the WNBA is starting to kind of come up, and you know, the NBA players have given a lot of respect to them, and it's been kind of a back and forth situation with the WNBA. There's a lot of people out there that kind of just diss it and disrespect it and don't give it its fair shake. But, you know, I caught a recent a recent game with the Seattle Storm, and I think it was the Aces. Yeah, the Las Vegas Aces. And dude, like
How
Brianna
fitting.
Stewart is crazy good. And there's a reason why the Seattle Storm won the championship last year. You know, between Sue Bird and Brianna Stewart, like holy shit. Like she's deceptive. Like I didn't think she was that tall, dude. She like I saw her play and I'm like, God, she is so tall.
Yeah, how tall is she?
I can't remember her exact height, but like just watching her move, I'm like, wow, she's really tall. And she shoots really well. So I think that's amazing. So let's kind of move on to the overall standings. I know it's early in the season, but might as well look at the standings. Currently, the Connecticut Sun are in first place, 4-0. Chicago Sky, I can't speak today. No puedo hablar. Lengua. Chicago Sky is 2-0. Our Dallas Wings, and I'm gonna stand them real hard, man. I'm so glad to have a Dallas team, man. The Dallas Wings are 1-0, and because they got I think the first two picks in the draft. So like, yeah, the rookie did pretty well. I think she got a double double in her first game. Collier, I think she was the rookie out of Texas. So I think that's pretty awesome. New York Liberty are 3-1. So they're a pretty decent team with last year's. I think she was the number one overall pick last year. Juana Inescu. Yeah, wow, I can't think of the proper pronunciation of the name. Let me do this real quick before before I say UNESCO. Yeah, UNESCO. Gotta always put respect on people's names.
Of course. I don't like it when I get people's names wrong
Yeah, exactly.
because we've had our names butchered so many times. It's like
Yeah, dude,
I don't like to do that to
it's
people.
freaking crazy, man. Like,
Hell, I don't even like it when
remember
people say,
Roskowski, dude? He freaking mispronounced my name on the announcements, dude.
"Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah."
dude, that shit was stupid.
Well, I mean, even it kind of rubs me the wrong way when people say their own name wrong. Like, come on, man, you should know how to say it properly.
Or
But
at least make an attempt, you know?
yeah, well, anyway,
And then
that's
yeah, so
neither.
Las Vegas Aces are 2-1. Seattle Storm 2-1. Again, they're the defending champions, and you don't expect like these teams to just come roaring out of the gate. But I mean, still, I have faith that the Seattle Storm are going to be a pretty amazing team. It's just one loss this far, and again, it's early. Phoenix Mercury with Deanna Taurasi and Brittany Griner are 50% right now, but I think that'll turn around. Washington Mystics, Atlanta Dream, Los Angeles Sparks, Minnesota Lynx, and Indiana Fever round out the rest of the league. The Sparks kind of got off to a rocky start. Our Dallas Wings beat them pretty handily. Um, and then the Minnesota Lynx, I'm actually surprised that they didn't have a decent showing. But who knows? Maybe they'll turn around because they're usually a
I don't
pretty
know, man.
decent team in the league. And
Even after
yeah,
so, even after 25 seasons, there's only 12 teams in the entire league for the
well,
women.
yeah, and that's another thing.
Wow.
They're discussing expansion, which I think they should. Like, I don't see why not, especially if things go well with like this Google deal. I think they're bound to expand. But there were other different teams because there used to be like the San Antonio Stars at one point, and like part of me was like, oh, maybe I'll follow them, but then it's like I can't really see myself following a San Antonio team.
Well, yeah, I just find it 25 seasons, and you know it's still a young league. Just to see 12 teams, it'd be
Yeah.
nice to have the equivalent of the NBA. You know, 30
Well,
teams.
and then right
That'd
now
be nice.
yeah, it would be awesome, but I think again it's in a bit of an evolution. Like it's going to take time to build this up to a decent point. I mean, you would think that people would learn how things work from then, but again, it's just the WNBA is fighting an uphill battle with people that are just a little bit close-minded, in my opinion. But whatever. I mean, if there's people that like it, there's people that don't. Just as long as you're respectful about it, I don't mind. But if you're a total dickwad being misogynistic about it, then yeah, I can't really take you seriously. But yeah, overall, yeah, I mean, there's 12 teams right now, but hopefully, if they do expand, the team I wish they would bring back would be the Houston Comets, because that was the team. That team won four, I think, five championships, and then they disbanded. Which I was like, man, that's so unfortunate for a team to win that much and then just get disbanded.
Hmm.
Like they should bring them back if they expand, because I think that would it would have a
Why they
history type
disbanded?
of ordeal with it. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah,
Kind of
yeah.
like the Celtics. You know,
Yeah, I
Just
wonder
kind of
why
a
they
similar
disbanded.
deal.
That's kind of out of the blue.
Yeah, I
I
don't
guess
know
they ran
why
into
either. I
I
kind
guess
of
they
need to
ran
look
into
into that.
I guess they ran into financial problems or something. I don't know.
Maybe. But that's my hope. I think that would be a really good team to bring back because considering its history. Um,
Yeah, well, I'm kind of surprised that Google's getting into the sports scene, especially with this sponsorship, because that's a big sponsorship for Google to do this. I
yeah,
mean,
and
I don't know why.
it's a money-making machine, dude. Sports always make money. Everybody's loves sports.
Well, I mean, after this past year with the pandemic, it hit sports hard, really hard.
Hmm.
So maybe this will be a boost. I mean, I have my issues with Google, but let's see, maybe you could, give sports, especially for women's sports in basketball, the boost it needs. So we'll
Yeah,
see. I'm
exactly.
curious how it's going to play out.
Exactamente. All right, so let's kind of go with our team, the Dallas Stars, a bit. So this is their current roster. Like I said, they drafted Charlie Collier from Austin, and she showed up pretty well in their first game with a double double. Uh, Chelsea Dungy from Arkansas, and Dana Evans from Louisville. And I think Louisville tends to have a pretty decent program overall as far as basketball is concerned, whether it be men's or women's. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's a pretty good pickup there. Then you have Bella Alarie from Princeton, Christine Aniwe from California, also the United Kingdom, Alicia Gray from South Carolina, Tyasha Harris. I hope to God I pronounced that correctly. I apologize, ma'am, if I didn't. From South Carolina. Ooh, so two people from South Carolina. That's cool. Isabel Harrison from Tennessee. Moira Jefferson. I heard a little bit about her from Connecticut. Uh, Awak Kuye, I think. Hopefully, I pronounced that right. From Ragusa and Finland. She's also a rookie, I think. I can't remember if she was the one they drafted second, but yeah, there was one they drafted second. Um, Marina Mabry from Notre Dame and their star player Arike Owunboale from Notre Dame as well. Ooh, that's another thing people don't really know. I'm also a huge Notre Dame fan, especially from my grandfather. He was a huge fan of them. I had relatives that went there. And yeah, that's awesome that we have some Notre Dame people on this team. Sato Sabale from Oregon. We haven't seen her play this season yet, but hopefully when she comes back, it'll be good. And then, of course, El Paso's own Kayla Thornton, right there, 5 years. She's the big vet in the team.
Yeah, I can't believe she's already been 5 years in the league. I mean, I remember.
Huh, I just
Uh, we,
realized she's a few weeks older than me.
yeah, but that's pretty cool. I remember, in my undergrad at UTEP watching her play. She
Yeah,
was
dude, I went to
amazing.
go to a game with you one time. I think you were in the pep band, and yeah, we watched them play. She
Yeah,
was
but I
awesome.
mean, all my, you know, all my years there, all 5 years there, I just saw her just come to be, and that women's team was killer. Before I left. So yeah, it's nice to see her succeeding. In the WNBA. So I'm happy for her that she's on a team.
Yeah, and it's going to be exciting because I think Charlie Collier has a very bright future in this league. She seems to be a pretty good piece overall. So the Wings they made a great decision, and I can't wait to see what unfolds. I know it's been one game, but we'll see what happens because they actually played today against the Seattle Storm at 7 p.m. and that's Central Time. So yeah, hopefully y'all can get to see that, and hopefully I can get some. I think I mentioned this earlier about WNBA League Pass. I think it's about $17 at most, which is really damn good. Like I think that's going to be pretty cool because I would love to catch some Wings games. Like that's going to be amazing. And yeah, I can't wait to see what happens with the Storm because they're the defending champions and it's going to be a fun game. And then of course, we were talking about Kayla Thornton right here. 6'1", 190 pounds again from El Paso, Texas. As far as her current statistics right now, she's scoring 7 points. So just again, it's the beginning, but wow, 11 rebounds. She's really aggressive on the boards. So it's gonna be awesome to see. So I think she hit a three and 67% field goal percentage. 100% from free throw range. So that's good. That's going to be amazing. So she started off in Washington and then she's been with Dallas ever since. So that's awesome. I hope she's there for the
Yeah.
remainder of her career. So I'm excited
Yeah,
for
man.
this
Nice to see
season.
her
I
stay.
really want to see, definitely want to see her play because El Paso supports their own. So that's going to be awesome. So
Of
now
course.
that we've gotten that out of the way, let's kind of talk a little bit about the NBA playoffs since they're already here. But yeah, before we talk about the main playoffs, let's kind of talk a little bit about the play-in tournament because that was a very interesting addition. Like they did it last year, but it was a bit different. This year, the way they did it is that they had the seventh through the 10th seeds play to get in. For the seventh and eighth seed, whoever won that got the seventh seed, and who they would play whoever won against the ninth and the 10th seed if they lost, right? And then the ninth and the 10th seed would play to at least stay alive, and whoever is eliminated, because they're gone, and then the other team moves on to play the other team for the eighth spot. So that's what happened. As far as in the West, let's kind of look at this. So Memphis played San Antonio, they won. LA played Golden State, and Golden State barely lost by a LeBron James 3-pointer, like to win the game. So that was unfortunate for them. But then they went on to lose against Memphis. And a lot of people were like, and see, look, I get it. I can understand people's
Bro.
the people not liking the play in for that reason. Like you have a good team, like a good player like Steph Curry, not making it, and it's not as entertaining. And see, this is the thing that's so relative because so what? We're only supposed to have teams with the big markets and the big names. Like, what's wrong with having a different team? Like not everyone is a fan of Golden State. There's a lot of Memphis fans too. So what? They're supposed to just be shafted just because
No.
it's Stephen
That,
Curry? No, that's ridiculous.
no, I
So
don't get it, man.
yeah, and also
But
if we're gonna go with that argument, they had two fucking chances to get in, and they didn't capitalize. So, and granted, it's not all Steph's fault, but he's part of the team, so he shares some blame in it. But overall, Memphis, they earned their spot, and it's awesome to see them in the playoffs. And what were you about to say, Mario? Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Mario's all here. No me interrumpes ese. I think Mario had a little bit of a technical difficulty there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of continue on here. So yeah, for all of you that are like watching the video, you kind of saw what happened. But if you're looking or listening on, the Apple Podcasts or Spotify, yeah, I'm just here right now until Mario gets back on. But overall, I'm going to continue. So in the eastern side of things, until I can see, I guess, if he's, able to come back in. Well, actually, let me just do a stop share real quick, just so I can see if he's, asking to come in, just so I can let him back in. Well, I'm not seeing it yet, so let me continue before I double check on him. So yeah, so on the eastern side of things, we have the Indiana Pacers, the Charlotte Hornets, and then we have the Boston Celtics and Washington Wizards. So Boston, they beat Washington. Oh no, no, yeah. Washington was beaten by Boston, so then they got the seventh spot, and then the Hornets and the Pacers played. The Hornets were beaten in pretty heavy fashion by the Pacers, and they got to play the Wizards, who the Wizards pretty much dispatched pretty easily. So for the seventh seed, we had Boston. For the eighth seed, we had Washington. In the West, we had Lakers seventh and Memphis Grizzlies eighth seed. So let's double check one more time to see if Mario is back on. Let me see. Maybe if I invite him again, let's see what happens. A ver. Invite. Okay. And then let me go back to share screen. Just to see, maybe it'll show me if, okay, there we go, admit. A ver, is he back on? ¿Está bien, dude? Dude, hey,
I just got I just got kicked. I don't know why.
qué raro, dude.
That's so weird.
Okay, well, ándale
Anyway,
pues, estás aquí. So as I was saying, like I was kind of continuing as you were going. And hopefully when things get like situated, things will be better quality in that in the future. But for what it's worth, we're doing okay right now. So yeah, I was kind of explaining the East side of things. But let's kind of, what were you about to say before you accidentally got cut off?
Well, I was at work yesterday and I saw the Memphis and Golden State game. That game was, bro, it was off the chain, bro. Both sides were
Mm-hmm.
going at it. I mean, Steph Curry got off to a rocky start. He was not, some shots weren't going down, and he was turning the ball over a little too much. And that's what I believe hurt them in the long run.
Draymond Green was also
Yeah,
turning the
well,
ball over a
Draymond
bit
Green
much.
was nailing shots, but he was being very sloppy with the ball too. So, like I said, turnovers were a big factor the in why they didn't win. But dude, Memphis, my God, they just wanted it more.
Yeah,
And
dude.
you should have, if you were, man, you should have been, if you were able to watch it, man. That whole game was just great, and it went into overtime, and then just Memphis just pulled it out. But that guy, that young guy,
Ja Morant.
John Morant,
Yeah,
sorry.
Ja, just J-A,
He
Ja
is
Morant.
John Morant. My God, he just went off all night long. He was hungry, man. For a young kid. I think he's a rookie, if
No,
I'm
no,
not
no, no.
mistaken.
He's not a rookie. He was rookie last year.
Okay, so he's
He was
got one
rookie
year
of
under
the
his.
year last year, as a matter of
Oh,
fact.
okay. I misheard that then. But my God, he everyone on the Memphis team, you got to give credit to them. They were trying to, like I said, they felt like they were trying to downplay Memphis. No, man, all those guys were just more consistent. They were nailing shots. They wanted it, and they're in. And Golden State's not. Like I said, I got much respect for Golden State and Steph Curry and that crew. They're a championship team, but they just been very,
Well, not this year,
then
but yeah.
yeah, I know not, but I mean, they've won the championship before. It's just they just had a lot of issues, well, even before the pandemic, and then now it's just been very inconsistent. But I know Steve Kerr can turn it around, and those guys can turn it around moving forward as we get back to some sort of normalcy. So
Yeah, and hopefully when Klay Thompson comes back, things will be a little bit better for them. But as far as Memphis is concerned, dude, like they scare me, dude. Like they're legit. Like I don't know why people discredit them, but you know, Jaren Jackson Jr. he's an amazing player. He's a really good defensive player, and he's a good shooter for a guy his size. So I just like that guy, and that's why sometimes I'm a little bit afraid for the Mavs. I mean, they did great this year coming back and doing what they did, but I'm a little bit nervous if Memphis goes back healthy and like truly full strength next year. Like you got to watch out for them. They're going to be a tough team in the West for years to come, in my opinion, if they play their
well,
cards right. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, I'm just looking at this playoff picture, Utah doing extremely well. So, I mean, and they're going up against Memphis. And I really liked how just watching, like, I know I was busy with school, so I didn't keep up with a lot of the NBA, but just to see how Memphis performed yesterday, I think they're going to give Utah a run for their money. So Utah's got to be careful.
Yeah, and that's also very dependent on if Donovan Mitchell, like I don't know what his situation is. I didn't hear, but he's been injured for a bit. Hopefully he comes back for this round of the playoffs because they're going to need him.
Yeah,
Because last year the issue with Utah last year was the fact they didn't have Bogdanovich, who was their second leading scorer. And I know people are probably going to disagree with me on this, and it is what it is. But I think if Bogdanovich was there, I think the Jazz would have dispatched Denver. I mean, and it's no disrespect to Jokic and Murray and all of that squad, but I just think if they had that extra umph in their offense instead of Donovan Mitchell having to carry the load, I think the Jazz would have won that series. Um, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, before we continue on with like the full like standings and the playoff
yeah,
look in the West, let's go back to the East because I was kind of explaining a little bit like the Pacers and the Hornets, they played each other. Indiana dispatched them pretty quickly. The Celtics beat Washington, and then Washington just straight up beat Indiana. And what a turnaround for the Wizards, dude. Like I expected them to be the eighth seed, but I didn't expect them to have this much of a struggle in the beginning of the season. Part of it was because Westbrook was out a little bit, but also when Westbrook was playing, he was struggling at the beginning. But he really turned it around and kind of went back to his like triple double machine form. And he really helped put the Wizards back into a good position. So props to Russell Westbrook. And I at one point was kind of on that train. I was like, oh man, maybe he's not the same anymore. Apparently, he was playing with a quad injury, like throughout that time. And I was like, damn, dude, like the fact that he was forcing himself to play through that is a little scary, but he made it work. And now the Wizards are in the playoffs. So,
Yeah,
props to him. And I apologize for doubting him. So congrats, Russell Westbrook. I'm happy. Like, I don't want to see players fail, but I just at the current moment, that's just what it looked like. But I'm happy for him now. I'm really
yeah.
happy for him.
No, I'm happy for him too because I think that they can. I think they'll give Philly a hard time, but I still feel hopefully as there's a lot of teams on the East that I would like to see move forward that haven't won one or anything. So like Philly has yet. Well, Philly's got two. The Washington doesn't. I would like to see them move forward, but I do like the way Philly's been playing from what I've seen from them, and then just to see big turnarounds for a couple of teams like the Knicks. Wow, and they haven't. I haven't seen them do this well in wow almost 10 years.
Yeah,
So it's nice to see the Knicks and a lot of people that I know that are Knicks fans finally have a winning season, and that makes me happy to see. So hopefully, we'll see what happens. They're going up against Atlanta. They have the same record, so this will be a tough. This will probably be tough because Atlanta is pretty fierce, from what I've seen. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I'll be okay with either team winning that series. Milwaukee and Miami. Miami was the runner-up last year for the finals, and Milwaukee was looking good, but could not. Um, they just could not pull through in the end because they played Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals. Am I correct?
no, they played them in the second round. It was the Celtics
Oh,
and the Heat in the Eastern Conference
oh,
Finals.
okay. But
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
just
they
the
were chilling
Miami
it
just
all
knows how
year.
to solve Giannis, but maybe this year with the addition of Drew Holiday, maybe that'll change. We'll see.
Yes, because they were doing so well. I think they were like the number one seed last year, and they just got there and they just ran out of gas. And Miami just kicked their butt. So I would like to see Milwaukee turn it around. So come on,
Yeah,
I
they
want to
just
see
had
you go for it.
yeah, they just had better matchups. I mean, Bam Adebayo was just killing it last year. But yeah,
Mm,
overall, as far as the East, you know, Philly and Washington is going to be an interesting one because I don't know. I don't know how true it is. I don't know because you can't always believe everything you read off of Twitter. But apparently Russell Westbrook and Joel Embiid do not really like each other that well. So that's going to be a kind of a very like hard grinding game. Like
I don't
Russell
know,
Westbrook
man.
is going to talk his shit, and Joel Embiid is also going to talk his. And Joel
Yeah,
is just one of those guys that just talks smack, and it's funny.
but
He's funny.
Embiid, I know he's funny, but Embiid, he I don't know, he kind of acts a little bullyish sometimes on some players. He pushes his weight around. He just especially to the shorter guys. I'm like, bro,
Well,
what
I
you
mean, that's
doing?
what
Because
you're
I see
supposed to
some,
do. What is he supposed to do? Just stand there? I mean,
but I feel like he starts fights when he shouldn't be. Because I've seen some NBA fights and when how he acts, I was like, bro, come on, man,
true
be
spirit
the
of Philly.
well, shit. But even then, it's like, man, come on, be the better guy here. Have some sportsmanship. There's no need for fighting. Just show with your skills.
Yeah, I get what you mean, but yeah, I like Embiid. I think he's badass. He was definitely like I know everyone's gonna give me shit for this, but I really thought he should have gotten MVP, but he was out for 17 games, and oh well. I mean, but so yeah, because it was a shortened season. I mean, but if it wasn't, you definitely could have made a case for Embiid. I mean, no disrespect to Jokic, and again, I do agree, like he does deserve it as well. But I felt Embiid should have also gotten it. Like, I mean, should
Mm-hmm.
have been the front runner for it. But again, I won't argue that Jokic has a case. Like he obviously has a case, especially maybe a little bit better now than he did when I first had it as Embiid. So either way, whoever wins the MVP, like I mean, especially it's going to be Jokic in my opinion in the end.
Right.
But yeah, so yeah, that's going to be a great matchup. I think that one is. I guess we'll give our predictions a little bit later because I'm going to also utilize some stats to kind of give us an idea of who's going to win that that matchup. Um, but yeah, the Knicks and the Hawks. I think that's going to be a grinded out game. Julius Randle has really come into his own, and I think he deserves most improved because my God, he really is the heart and soul of the Knicks right now. And I'm glad Derrick Rose is there too, because he really has kind of done well for them for on his second stint there. Um, but Julius Randle has been killing it. Obi Toppin has been good. Emmanuel Quickly. It's a solid roster, and of course part of it is Coach Thibodeau because he used to coach the Bulls when Derrick Rose was in his prime, and he's just a very defensive minded coach, and he turned this program around. Like he definitely, I don't know who's going to get Coach of the Year, but he should definitely get consideration for that because holy shit, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, just to see him doing a lot better in New York. I mean, because he tried in Chicago, he really did, but I guess maybe he just didn't have the pieces, or maybe Chicago just wasn't the right team for him. So
Well, I mean, he
I'm
took
glad.
he led with. I mean, Derrick Rose has the point guard. He led them to the conference finals, so it's not like they weren't inadequate. It's just sometimes you get tough breaks.
I know but it just feels like, he really struggled, a lot more in Chicago than he did, or that's just how I saw it because, after Rose got hurt, it just of course wasn't the same. So
I mean, he still kept them competitive though, so I wouldn't say that. I mean, I get what you mean, but I wouldn't say that. But overall, I mean, we have the Hawks. I mean, the Hawks are going to be a run and gun team, but I don't know. Well, and I'll discuss like that matchup like fully later. But yeah, we already discussed a little bit about the Bucks and the Heat. That's going to be an interesting matchup, and we'll see how that goes. The Nets, everybody, there's a lot of people that are really hating on the Nets and expecting them to be like outed in the first round or at most second round. There's some people on the other side of the fence that think they're going to win it all. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see because according to the stats, Brooklyn is not one of the higher defensive team, and I don't even think they're top 10. And we'll look at that a little bit more in depth in a minute. But that's the huge reason why there's a lot of people on the fence about the Nets because a higher end defense usually helps you win championships if you're at least top 10, maybe even top five. Um, but yeah, and then Boston, it's going to be a struggle because they lost Jaylen Brown. So it's going to be a very interesting series. I mean, maybe Boston still has some, fuel in the tank to kind of help them a little bit, but it's going to be definitely harder without Jaylen Brown. I think they at least give Brooklyn a challenge because, Brooklyn's still trying to get their chemistry together. But you really cannot sleep on like three superstars. And some people don't consider Kyrie a superstar, but I mean, I think he is.
come on, I
I mean,
think like
that's why they're a super team. So like yeah, with James Harden doing the point guard responsibilities and doing it amazingly
I mean,
well.
they didn't get to the number 2 seed in the playoffs for nothing, man. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. And then KD, he struggled recently, but I think he'll be fine when the playoffs start. And then Kyrie is just gonna get you buckets no matter what. They're gonna. I think this is just my opinion. I think their offense is gonna be their best defense, really.
Mm.
So, but even then, we'll kind of see how that unfolds, and we'll kind of talk a little bit more about it with the stats. Because we're just kind of discussing it, and then we'll kind of go into each like section by section to see. But as far as the West, again, we kind of talked a little bit about Utah and Memphis, the Clippers. So our Dallas Mavericks versus the Clippers, the rematch last year. The Mavericks, a lot of Mavericks fans and even some other fans thought they had a legitimate chance to beat the Clippers in the first round if it wasn't for that KP block that was called a foul, which is straight up BS, but okay. And then he got ejected. So, and then he also got injured. And that's the thing. That's the biggest question mark is Porzingis, because when he has been healthy, he's been okay, but he hasn't been what he's needed to be. And then other than that, he's just been not healthy. So if KP can at least do what he did in last year's playoffs this year, then I think people will give him a little bit more of a chance. But if he doesn't even produce half of what he was last year, then I don't know, man. I don't know where you go from there. You might have to consider using him as a trade piece or something,
I really
which
hope
I
it
would
won't
hate for that to
happen.
happen. But I mean, He hasn't been what we've needed. And again, it's just like, oh, well, he hasn't been healthy enough. But when has he ever been healthy? So it's like you don't want to have another fucking Chandler Parsons situation where he's never fucking healthy and we get
Yeah,
finessed, you know?
yeah. Well, I hope so. I mean,
Yeah, no, I'm
it's
hoping too. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
yeah. I just hate that they're having to go up against the Clippers again because I really like the Clippers, to move on. But going against my Mavs, I'm like, ah, man, why did it have to be the Clippers again?
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. It's like I want my Mavs to go all the way. So we'll see what happens. I'm just glad that they were able to pull that that winning streak. Everyone was clicking. Luca was clicking. Hardaway was clicking. A lot of the other players were stepping up. So it made me happy to see. So we
Yeah,
got to.
Powell is kind of coming back into a little bit of a more scrappier role and actually is being pretty efficient. So, and I hate on Dwight Powell a lot because I don't know that contract kind of. If we had him at a slightly lower contract, I wouldn't have been as mad. But the fact that we gave him a bigger contract, I was like, why? You could have used that on somebody else. But he's worked for it. So I'm happy for him. And again, I'll hold my tongue on him for now until I like see if he's like if he struggles real bad, then I'll be like, well, okay, it is what it is. But he's been a positive, which is great, and I'm happy for that. The Mavericks overall, like they like most teams in the league, and this is the thing, I get it, but I hate when Mavs fans like to say, oh well, everyone was sick, and it was like, dude, there were a lot of other teams that had that same issue and still ended up in a higher spot. And granted, that was again during the time where the Mavericks were like pretty much in last place in the conference. And I'm glad they turned it around because that's what they needed. Like Luca has really stepped it up and like led that team. And I'm happy for him. I mean, he's had his moments where he's like just put up errant shots, but overall he's definitely been a lot better. I know his stats don't seem on the surface as good as they were last year, but they were still very good nonetheless and definitely they could have been consideration for MVP. It's just if he had performed a little, if the team itself had performed a little bit better and those issues did not occur, I bet we would see Luca in those conversations. But obviously, that's not how it happened. Um, and then Lakers, not Clippers. Sorry, Clippers fans. I know you hate that. So the Clippers, last year, they just had a lot of chemistry issues. And for a good amount of the season this year, Kawhi was out a little bit. But Paul George has really stepped it up. But the big question is, can he step it up in the playoffs? Because that's just been the issue with him lately. He has amazing seasons, but then when the postseason occurs, he's just kind of off. He's not the same. So if Paul George can prove himself to be, a decent piece in this series and in the second round, then I think the Clippers will be golden. And I think they might be a bit of a front runner for me to possibly win the title. But that's very dependent on if Paul George steps it up. Kawhi is going to be Kawhi. You know, nobody can question Kawhi. I know last year it was like, oh well, he didn't do well in the final game. It's like, yeah, I mean that is what it is. But I don't expect Kawhi Leonard to like always falter in that way, especially for a guy that's so defensively inclined in that regard. Um, but yeah, it's going to be a great matchup. And this time around, the Mavericks have a lot of their pieces because last year they didn't because Dwight Powell was injured, Jalen Brunson was injured, um, uh, Willie Cauley-Stein didn't play because he didn't want to get his baby sick, which is commendable. We just had a lot of players that were not there, so the Mavericks do have a chance. There is possibility that they can win this series if they are consistent and they play their cards right. If Hardaway shoots great in this series, then they have a chance. If KP plays the way he needs to play, I think they have a chance. If Dwight Powell is as scrappy as he has been throughout the latter half of this season, then yeah, they have a chance. And again, we have Brunson back, and he's not the best ball handler and like distributor, but he's still decent. So that gives us another element. I don't expect much from Trey Burke. And then also JJ Redick is not going to be playing because I think he's still dealing with an ankle injury. But if the Mavericks somehow get past the Clippers, then hopefully he plays in the next series because they're going to need some shooting, most definitely. But yeah, the Clippers, they're going to be okay, I think. I mean, there's definitely some lineups that the Mavericks can throw at the Clippers, but I just think in the end it's going to end up the same kind of same situation as last year. But I'll get more into that in a minute. The Nuggets and the Trailblazers. So this is a game a series that a lot of people think that the Trailblazers can cause an upset. Because granted, right now the Nuggets do not have Jamal Murray at all. He got injured, so that's a huge loss on the Nuggets. But Jokic has still steered the boat right in the direction for this Nuggets team. You know, felicidades por él. He did really well, and he's again Jokic is definitely front runner for MVP this year. Um, but again, will it be enough to get past high powered teams like the Trailblazers? I mean, it's possible. I think they still can do it. It's just now that CJ's back and now that the Trailblazers are at a decent strength, I think the Trailblazers can make a decent push. That would be the only series I could see a possible upset, but who knows? Maybe the Nuggets are a lot better than people give them credit for. Because again, Jokic, when you have Jokic, you have a chance, but is it enough? You know. And then this is the big one that a lot of people are saying, you know, because Phoenix has done really great this year. Chris Paul, you know, I used to not think so highly of Chris Paul, but now like the way he's performed these past two seasons and putting these teams in positions to be successful and be in the playoffs, like, yeah, he's an amazing point guard. And like he's definitely like going to go down as one of the best point guards of all time. So yeah, it's
I
looking
agree
for
with
him, and
that.
then Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton have been playing decently this year. DeAndre Ayton still has a little bit more to improve on, but I think he's been decent. Booker's going to get his buckets. Um, but the big deal about this one is that people are saying, and I agree to a pretty good extent, that this Lakers team is probably the best seventh seed that has ever manifested. Because, you know, again, they were not healthy for a good majority of the season. And now AD and LeBron are back. And I know LeBron said that, oh, I don't think I'll ever be 100% again. But again, with LeBron, anything's possible. You cannot count out LeBron James. That's just reality.
He's
He's
not a quitter, man. He's a fighter into the very end. So
yeah,
it that's why I know there's some things that we don't like what he does, especially when he gets a little bit of favoritism from the officials because he does, but he's never been one to just give up or quit. So yeah, I mean that's just not in his nature.
yeah, and that was evident when he hit that game winner against the Warriors in Curry's face. So you know, did like
I didn't get
it's
it. I
awesome.
didn't get a chance to see it, but
Yeah,
damn.
I mean, granted, Curry can only do so much in that particular instance. Like LeBron's obviously a taller player, but and Curry did contest, but you know, it's what do you do with that? LeBron, like sometimes he'll just make a lot of people have been calling it "le fuck you" threes. Yeah, because sometimes like he'll do it so slow he'll just go like this, and then just out of nowhere, boom, he just pull up and
No, that's funny,
like
man.
he's been a lot better these past couple of seasons from 3 point range, which is awesome.
Yeah, he
Like
has improved.
he's always improving his game. He's always has a new element, and it's just so awesome to see. Um, but yeah, I think this is going to be a very interesting series. Because again, and there's been a lot of videos about this, and I'll kind of give my opinion on it. But yeah, this overall is going to be one of the more interesting series. And some people are considering, well, would it be an upset really if the Lakers beat the Phoenix Suns? Because let's just say the Lakers were healthy throughout the rest of the season. They probably would have been a higher seed in general. That's we don't know for certain, but that's pretty much what the consensus thought is. And there's no reason to not believe that either.
Well, I
So,
mean, they are the defending champs, so
exactly.
again, don't count them out
And they
just
did
yet.
improve. They've gotten a lot deeper this year. And there's some games that some of the other role players stepped up, like Schroeder when he was playing, he was stepping up really well. Um, what is it? Contavious Caldwell Pope has really stepped up. You know, Alex Caruso. He's been pretty. He did really good in that game versus the Warriors. So shout out to him. But yeah, the Lakers have pieces. They let's. There's no reason to believe that they couldn't pull up a decent run. But anyhow, let's kind of get into the statistics overall, and then kind of make our slight predictions. So, as far as the season leaders in points per game, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Brooklyn Nets, the Washington Wizards, the Utah Jazz, the Portland Trailblazers. So those were the top teams in points per game, rebounds per game. Utah Jazz, Milwaukee Bucks, Pelicans are not even in the playoffs, so I don't need to worry about them. The Grizzlies and the Hawks. So these are teams that are going to really shine out as far as rebounding, and these are teams that are going to shine out as far as points per game. And that's why I think the Nets have a legitimate chance to make the finals, because they can kill people. Like if all three of their superstars get going, I think that's going to be hard to stop, no matter how good of a defense you have or how bad their defense is. I mean, that's neither here nor there, because I'll get to the advanced stats as far as like the defensive and offensive ratings. So the assists per game, the Warriors, sadly, they didn't make the playoffs. Because I mean they had a lot of passing, but I think their passing got predictable, which is why they lost. But as far as the current teams in the playoffs that have decent assists per games, like the Grizzlies, the Suns, and the Nets, I think they have a lot of ball movement going for them that I think they can have an advantage. Blocks per game, Pacers didn't make it, but the Sixers definitely are a decent, like they're a very good defensive team. So I think it's going to be hard to stop, because that's the only. I don't know why everybody likes to say the Bucks will beat the Nets, but I think it's the Sixers, in my opinion, that have the best chance of beating the Nets because of Embiid and Simmons. Like they're very good defensive players, so I think they have the best chance if that happens. And also the Lakers and the Lakers is another decent team. They're a really good defensive team overall. So yeah, the Lakers have a legitimate shot to like stop teams with decent offenses. Steals per game, the Grizzlies and the Sixers. Again, the Sixers, again, I think have the most chance to stop a lot of teams, and also on the Western side, the Lakers. The Grizzlies, again, I think are, like you said, they're going to give Utah a run for their money. So I think that's going to be a very fun series. And again, it's all dependent on what happens with Donovan Mitchell. Field goal percentage, for a team that, like, I mean, they struggled a little bit, but they were still ended up being the second seed, and they were probably the higher team with like the higher field goal percentage. So again, let's not pretend that they can't get it done. And then the Phoenix Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks are also very good, high-powered offenses, or like more efficient offenses, I should say. And the Nuggets and the Clippers also behind them. So these are going to be like, you're going to bet that these teams are going to at least get their buckets in an efficient manner. Utah is because that was another big thing with Utah. They're one of the higher scoring 3-point shooting teams. As far as percentage wise, they're like fifth, but they still are going to get you from the 3-point range. So you really have to guard them well there. The Clippers, they're another decent team from three, but again, I don't expect them to take as many. And then free throw percentage, Suns and Clippers, they're going to get it done from the line. And then as far as the overall advanced stats, let's look at that. So as far as offensive rating, let's look at that. Their offensive rating, Brooklyn has the highest with 117.3. The Blazers are the second highest with 117.1. The Clippers are the third with 116.7. Utah Jazz 116.5, and the Milwaukee Bucks 116.5. So these top five teams are going to really, like, it's going to be really hard to stop these teams on the offensive end. I mean, and then with Denver, Phoenix, and Dallas not too far behind them, I think it's going to be really. I mean, and I guess like you could say the Lakers are not so high because again they weren't 100% healthy. So I think in that respect that's going to increase with the playoffs, because you're going to get some huge scoring opportunities with LeBron and AD on your team. So that's, I guess we can't really take the Lakers not being in the top 10 in offensive rating too straightforward, because there's definitely context to that. But overall, the teams that we're playing, yeah. So those are the teams to watch out for offensively. Dallas, even though they're top 10, they have their moments where they falter. So hopefully in the playoffs, the Mavericks can keep their shit together. But I can't really guarantee that, and I can only be hopeful, you know.
Right.
And then as far as defensive ratings, so see, this is what I was saying. The Lakers are the best defensive team in the league with this defensive rating of 106.8. So, and especially with LeBron and AD coming back, I know AD isn't the best defender, but he's still a very good defender. And so is LeBron. I know in recent years LeBron hasn't been as good of a defender, but he's still amazing. When he gets it done, he can get it done. When he locks you
Right.
down, he can lock you down. So, yeah. So
But you look at Philly and Utah, which are the top two seeds in the East. Don't count. Be wary of them.
mhm. Yeah, exactly. And overall, this is why I think that people are really writing off Philly. Because again, I understand the whole thing with Ben Simmons not being a good 3-point shooter. But let me double check offensive rating again. Yeah, because they're 13th. But again, their defense wins championships. And Embiid has been going off. If Embiid just gets it going, I think the Sixers will be fine. And they have decent pieces. Let's not pretend that they don't. Maxi's been good. Dwight Howard, even though he hasn't played as much, has been okay. Seth Curry will have his moments, and I mean, I wish we. And that's the thing. I wish we, like in retrospect, I thought, I guess it'll be okay. But nah, we've really missed Seth Curry in Dallas, man. It sucks
Yeah, I wish they had kept
because
him.
Josh
It was
Richardson has
upset.
not been what he's needed to be, and I'll get into that. I'll get into that later because I don't want to waste too much time on that. And then even the Knicks, because again, with Thibodeau, the Knicks really are a good team, and it's great to see that. And then the Suns, the Grizzlies, and the Clippers are all top 10, and the Bucks and the Heat. So again, maybe this time around, because the Bucks and the Heat are tied in defensive rating. So maybe this time around, I think the Bucks will have a decent chance of getting the Heat, considering that they're so close defensively. Let me double check offensive rating again for them, because even the Bucks have a higher offensive rating overall. So maybe, just maybe, and again, anything can happen in the playoffs, but just maybe the the Bucks have a better chance this time around against the Heat. And again, the Heat have also kind of had their own struggles this year too, you know.
Hmm.
But we'll see. I mean, but again, with Jimmy Butler, he's so aggressive that he can make anything happen. We saw it last year's playoffs. But again, it's a new year, so we'll see what happens. Um, but yeah, this is going to be an interesting season. I mean, off season, most likely. It's going to be hard to predict because I mean, everyone's like, oh, well, this season sucked because there's so many injuries, and it's like, I mean, injuries were going to happen one way or another. Granted, I will agree because we spoke about it a while ago that I think they did kind of rush the season a little bit, but at this point, it is what it is. And as far as net rating, the overall net rating, the Utah Jazz have a net rating of 9, Clippers 6.1, Phoenix 5.9, Milwaukee Bucks fourth with 5.8, and Philadelphia 76ers fifth, 5.5. So they have the better net ratings overall. As far as assist percentages, well, I guess because sometimes with assists, you can't always put that into perspective because sometimes if you pass the ball too much, you're not gonna like there is such a thing as too much ball movement if it doesn't lead to anything. So yeah, that's probably why some of these teams didn't do so well. But assist to turnover ratio. So and part of that is because of Chris Paul. He's been really efficient with his passing. I mean, he's one of the greatest point guards like in ball handlers we've seen. So definitely the Suns are going to be you're going to and this is the thing. Everybody likes to disrespect the Suns, but I think the Lakers are not going to be they're not going to just sweep the Suns. Let's just put it that way. It's going to be a battle. And Chris Paul is going to find ways around your defense, no matter how good it is.
No, yeah, that was like, the Lakers struggled, quite a bit this year, and they got back. But yeah, there's no way the Lakers are going to sweep them. There's just no way. I mean, come on
Yeah.
now.
I
That'd
mean,
be really naive just because of the Lakers. Well, even some of the best teams with the most titles have had their struggles. So that's like no. that's
Yeah,
not very likely at all.
I'm surprised the Mavericks are top 10. I mean, I guess part of that is Luca, but I mean, it would be nice if it was higher, but sometimes even Luca makes some weird passes. But overall, yeah, this is what is the assist to turnover ratio in general. And the Phoenix Suns are pretty efficient. So are the Grizzlies. The Nuggets are also efficient. So I think they're going to, of course, with Jokic, he's probably one of the best passing big men we've seen ever. So you have that. Total effective field goal percentage by team. Let's kind of see that a little bit. So with the Nets have the best effective field goal percentage. So these top five teams here, and see, this is why I hate when people disrespect the Suns and the Jazz, because it's not that the fact that they're just, you know, putting up shots and just like they're efficient. So the Jazz are gonna, I mean, the Grizzlies are gonna be good and they're gonna give a good series, but I think the Jazz are a lot high powered of an offense than people think they are. The Suns too. So these teams are going to be great, even if for some reason they do get upset within the first or second round. Let's not pretend that well they were illegitimate just because the Lakers weren't there. I just think that's such a shitty argument. Um, but yeah, as far as the team effort, it's going to be good to see Phoenix and Utah. Those are definitely teams people should be looking at. Besides the Lakers and the Nuggets, because I think they have a legitimate chance to also contend. The West is very hard to predict this year. Because there's a lot of factors that people have to take in consideration. Because and another thing about the Jazz, like Jordan Clarkson has fucking like exploded as a sixth man. Like he's really blossomed into a dangerous guy off the bench. Like I think he should win sixth man of the year. If he doesn't, that would be so silly. I think because Joe Ingles is a decent player. Don't get me wrong; he's also on the Jazz, but I think Jordan Clarkson has been a lot more impactful as a sixth man in general. Like there's times he's scored. I think there was one time he scored 40 off the bench, and he killed the Mavericks one game. So yeah, I think he's a sixth man of the year candidate and should probably win it. So yeah, as far as that's concerned, those are kind of the major statistics. And again, I'm not the best at reading the statistics, and y'all can in the comment sections on YouTube if you're watching this via YouTube or listening via yeah, whatever the case may be, just kind of tell me what I'm missing or maybe how to read the stats a little bit better. But I think with all being said, these teams have legitimate chances. It's a really stacked West. And the East has gotten a lot better too. People say, oh, the East is weak, 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 weak. Nowadays, I think the East has finally come back into a bit of a prominence of its own. So we'll see. But as far as predictions, and we'll kind of let's see, we'll go round by round. Let's see if it'll, let me see. Maybe if I do playoff bracket, this probably will give us a better view. If you're watching this via, ¿cómo se llama? Whoops. If you're watching this via YouTube, kind of just see it like this. Okay. So here's the bracket. So as far as Utah versus Memphis, I see, and again, it's very dependent on Donovan Mitchell. I see, like, if Donovan Mitchell's healthy, I can see this series going to 5 games. If he's not as healthy, I could see it going to 6. And then they move on to the next round. Utah beats Memphis. As far as the Clippers and the Mavericks, like, it'd be awesome if the Mavericks can pull off an upset, but that's very dependent on if. And see, that's another player, Josh Richardson, because that's what I was about to say earlier. Josh Richardson has not been what we've needed. Like, he was supposed to be a good defensive piece as well as a three-point shooter. He's been not as good as he has been in the past couple of years as a three-point shooter. Like, his best years were on Miami, and he wasn't even that good of a defender this year. Like, I don't know what happened. Hopefully he gets out of whatever funk he's in and proves us wrong. But as it stands right now, he has been kind of a negative overall. So that's going to be another thing. If Josh Richardson, if he could at least, be decent defensively, then I won't be as, angry about it. But if he doesn't even provide anything, then I think they should just let him walk in free agency.
Hmm.
Um, but overall, yeah, there's a lot of factors for the Mavericks to win this series, but they gotta play right. And Rick Carlisle is a decent coach. Some people think he's great, and look, he has title experience, and I get it. But as of late, his rotations have been a little strange. And granted, they're the fifth seed when they could have been out of the playoffs completely. So I'm not going to really trash Rick Carlisle here. Um, but I just think overall, I think the Clippers, because they're still a good defensive team and they're a very efficient offensive team. Because again, we saw their, the advanced stats of like true shooting percentage as a team, and the Clippers are up there. So I think overall, the Clippers are going to be very tactical in how they work with the Mavericks. Rajon Rondo, everybody has playoff Rondo. He kind of proved it last year in last year's finals. Like he's still a decent piece when he's on. So I mean, it's gonna piss me off though if if we lose to Rondo, but it is what it is. But I think if PG just has an amazing series, then there's no way the Mavericks are beating the Clippers. I think ultimately it goes back to 6 games. I think the Lake. Sorry, I keep saying that. Sorry, Clippers fans. Oh, there's a YouTuber named Alvini Linguini. He's probably gonna yell at my ass
Yeah.
if I keep saying that.
Hey,
Freaking but yeah, the Clippers, I think they win this series in 6. I think they still win it in 6. But who knows? I mean, I'm going to be excited if the Mavericks pull off an upset, but realistically, I think that's how it's going to go down. And then the Nuggets and the Trailblazers. I think because of the fact that Jamal Murray is gone, they've lost a little bit of offense. But Aaron Gordon has been pretty good as a defensive player. They just need to utilize Michael Porter Jr. a little bit more, and he has been, and he's been doing really well. So overall, I think Denver like edges out the Trailblazers, and this is going to be hard because if Damian Lillard goes off and starts just bombing threes, like and just hitting game winners like he has been throughout this season, I think the Blazers have a shot. That's another. Um, and I'll go over the full upset lists in a minute, but I think that's a team that could possibly cause an upset, and a lot of people probably agree on that. But ultimately, I think the Nuggets win in 7. I'll just say that because I think it still goes the distance, but I think the Nuggets are a little bit better coached. Because that's the other thing. Terry Stotts has not been a very good coach this season, so there's just a lot of issues. Like I think that his strategy is just get Dame and CJ the ball, and Nurkic just fucking rebound and shit. So I don't know. And I think Cantor is back with the Trailblazers too. Um, but yeah, I think the Denver Nuggets win in 7. And then Phoenix versus LA. Um, this one is an extremely tough one. A lot of people are going to be like, that should be easy. It's the Lakers. I mean, I don't know. If Chris Paul does not get injured and Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton play at least decently well, at least close to what they were performing at this season, I think this series also goes the distance. Like, this one can go either way for me, but I think just because it's LeBron James and Anthony Davis, I think the Lakers win in 7. I'm at least that may be more of the political approach to this, but I think that series can go either way for me because again, Phoenix is a high-powered offense, but the Lakers have proven to be a high-powered defense. So yeah, that's going to be a really cutthroat series there. And then how about we stay in the West and then put the team in the final, and then we go to the East. How about that? Right? This sounds fair.
yeah.
Alrighty, andale pues. So next round. So I had Utah and LA. So Utah versus LA. That's how it would go, right? Yeah, because it says it right here. Yeah. So the conference semis, Utah versus the Clippers. Now, again, let's see. Let me look at the advanced stats. Effective field goal percentage. So they're very close, the Jazz and the Clippers. So they're both very efficient scoring teams. But I think Utah is a better shooting team overall, as far as from 3-point range. Let's see, because we said 3-point range. Well, actually, no. Their percentage. I mean, they make more threes, the Jazz, but the overall percentage of the Clippers, they're a more efficient 3-point shooting team. So I don't know. Maybe they're pretty even, I guess, as far as offensively. Now, defensively, so we have, well, shoot. Maybe the Jazz are better defensively and the Lakers, I'm sorry, the God, otra vez, Mark. Híjole, fallado. Okay.
It's funny.
Anyhow, so yeah, the Clippers are not as good of a defensive team as I thought. Maybe that's partially because of Kawhi Leonard being out for some of those games. Maybe that bumps up a bit in the playoffs. But the Jazz have been a decent defensive team, and I think that's because of Rudy Gobert. So man, that is a very evenly matched series if it does go end up being that the Clippers versus the Jazz. I really think, wow, I think that one could also go the distance. Like it could either go to 6 or 7 games. But in the end, because again, it really, really depends on if Paul George doesn't just flame out. Because if Paul George doesn't flame out and just performs amazingly well, and Kawhi just being Kawhi, I think the Clippers win. I think the Clippers win that one, but by like 6 or 7 games. But if Donovan Mitchell does what he did in last year's playoffs, where he's just like getting 50 points in some games, like I think he had a really astronomical playoff series last year. I can't remember what the stats were, but he played amazing. He just, it was just they just lost a 3-1 lead. Maybe, just maybe, the Jazz could possibly win. That one could go either way. If Rudy Gobert doesn't get like caught in bad rotations and is because that's the thing. Rudy Gobert is a good rim protector, but he's not a good perimeter protector, and he doesn't move well. So if they can exploit that, then I think the Clippers win in 6 or 7 games. I'm leaning more towards 7 because Donovan Mitchell. People are sleeping on Donovan Mitchell. He's a lot better than he has been, but I don't know. People will probably disagree with me on that, but I think it goes the distance there. And as far as okay, so it would be L.A. versus I said Denver, right? L.A. versus Denver.
You, that's what you're leaning towards. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. So L.A. versus Denver, and again, because of the fact that like it's going to be a good series, but I think this is the where it gets tough for the Nuggets being let's see. I think that is where it gets tough for the Nuggets not having Jamal Murray. That's when I think they're going to really miss Jamal Murray. And I think they're going to exploit that because they have Schroeder, who's a really decent ball handler. And of course, they tend to run LeBron at the point here and there. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a huge mismatch. And of course, Anthony Davis, although I think when they've faced off, it's been like tough for Anthony Davis or Jokic to really get an edge on each other. So they're pretty even, except I think Davis might be better defensively. So overall, I think the Nuggets they get beaten in this one, and I think it ends in 5 or 6 because again, I think the lack of Jamal Murray might be the difference between them moving on or not. So yeah, I think the Lakers win in we'll say I guess to be safe I'll say 6. And then in the conference finals we have the Clippers versus the Lakers, which is what people probably wanted last year. And then this one's a little bit tough because I think the Clippers did make some decent moves, but will it be enough to get past the Lakers, who pretty much at the beginning of the offseason just did move after move and just really bolstered their strength. In the end, I mean, the Clippers are going to give the Lakers problems defensively, and they're a better shooting team. But I think in the end, because again, it's LeBron. But again, Kawhi has had his way on LeBron before. This could go either way, but I think it's probably the safer bet to choose the Lakers. Because yeah, I don't think. I mean, Ibaka's a decent player, but he's old, so we can't really expect much out of Ibaka. And yeah, I know the Clippers picked up Boogie Cousins, but he's not the best defender. Like for a guy his size, he should be a little bit better. But who knows? Maybe he'll just surprise us all. I mean, I hoped Boogie could have won a championship, but it is what it is. So in the end, I don't think the Clippers have a big man that's going to slow down AD. I mean, maybe LeBron might get a little bit uncomfortable, but he always finds a way. And then Schroeder again, if he performs well throughout the playoffs and is another good ball distributor and provides good like shooting, then I think the Clippers they might have an issue. So I think ultimately in the end it's the Lakers. They win in seven and they go to the finals. So now let's move on to the East. So we have, sorry, I guess it's harder to see from here. So Philly versus Washington. As much as the Wizards have fought this season, I still don't think they have enough pieces for this Philly team. And again, they've been proving a lot of people wrong most of this season. So I will say this. If Russell Westbrook does not get in his own way like he has in other times when he's been in the playoffs and just let Beal kind of do his thing and then just Westbrook just make decent passes and be aggressive on the boards, I think the Wizards have a chance to push this to 6 games. But I'm more inclined to believe that given the defensive rating of the Sixers, because let's double check that again because the defensive rating, yeah, they're top two. Yeah, I think overall the Sixers have the edge on this. I mean, Westbrook and Beal are hard to stop, but I think if Ben Simmons, I think with Ben Simmons guarding Westbrook, I think that might be a better matchup to kind of keep him at bay. So I think the Sixers win in 5. It could go to 6, but I'm probably going to say 5 because the Sixers are a better defensive team. And like I said, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But that's my thought process. As far as the Knicks and the Hawks, the Knicks have really proven to be a decent team this year. Let's double check again. Let's see where they stand in the advanced stats yeah, so they're top 5 in defensive rating, offensive rating. Wow, they're not even top. Surprisingly, they're not even top. They're not even top 20. So that could be an issue. And then let's see, once again, let's see the Hawks. The Hawks are top 10 in offensive rating. And then defensive rating, let's see where they land. Yeah, they're 18th. So that's going to be a very close matchup. But I think the Hawks are a little bit more high-powered offense. And again, this is very dependent on how Trae Young does. Because there's some moments where Trae Young is just gunning it. And I don't like to make this comparison, but a lot of people do because that's just what he came into the league being compared to. Steph Curry. If he has a Steph Curry type of like series, then I think he beats the Knicks. And of course, Bogdanovich is also in factor in here. Um, Bargnani, I mean, he's been okay. I mean, I'm not a huge Hawks fan, so maybe I'm wrong. But I mean, they've had a decent year, and Capella is a decent like rebounding and defensive big. So who knows? Maybe Capella will give whatever the Knicks have at center problems. Because I know Randall has been playing more power forward. Maybe he switches with center as well. But yeah, I think Capella is going to give the Knicks problems. But overall, the Knicks are a high-powered defense, like top five, and that's hard to stop. I mean, that's hard to get points on. But this one goes the distance, and I'm going to be bold on this one because I think people are really sleeping on how well Julius Randle has been. And of course, Derrick Rose has actually had six man of the year bids. And then even RJ Barrett, everyone's been like really like silent on RJ Barrett, and he's been having a pretty decent year himself. So I think the Knicks win this, but I think it goes the distance to 7 games. I think it goes to seven, but I think the Knicks barely win out because Julius Randle has been playing on another level this season.
Right.
So I think it's the Knicks on this one, and then the Bucks and the Heat. And I said this earlier. I'm going to make this one quick because I already said this. Because with Drew Holiday and the way how close they are defensively and how the Bucks have been offensively, I mean they're still going to find ways to throw people at Giannis. But I think this time with a better shooting cast and just he's been playing a little bit smarter this season. I have a feeling that the Bucks beat the Heat this time, I think they beat him in six. I just hope again that I'm not wrong like last year, where I thought, well, I mean they beat him throughout the season, but the season's different than the playoffs, and then they come to playoffs, they get fucking beaten. I'm like, well, I'm fucking wrong, but it's still like I said, six is pretty. That's a pretty conservative guess. 6 games because that
Mm.
gives room for the Heat to win a few. So I think that's a fair assessment, right? I mean, and if we want to again, let's look at the stats again. Steals per game. I mean, or just let's see. Yeah, the Bucks have been like just killing it points per game wise. So I mean, also field goal percentage. They're also pretty decent. So they're pretty efficient. And then also once again, let's look at effective field goal percentage. Yeah, they're second in the league, and Miami Heat is barely out of the top 10. So I mean, there's still going to be a decent like offensive play there, but I think because of how strong the Bucks have gotten this season, I think oops, sorry. I think the Bucks edge out the Heat this time around. Bam Adebayo is still going to give the Bucks problems, but I don't think it'll be enough. So I think the Bucks beat him in six. And
Mm.
then the Nets versus the Celtics. Because of the fact that Jaylen Brown is out, I'm gonna give it to the Nets. Like I don't see them winning without one of their other players, like big time players. I mean, I think it goes to 5 because I think the Celtics are at least gonna get one, unless Kemba Walker steps up the way he's needed to. We'll see, but I think, and I guess maybe the Celtics have more big men to throw at Brooklyn, but again, that's not really going to matter as much if you have like guys that can like shoot from longer range. Like even they have Joe Harris still. KD can get you some buckets from range. Kyrie can get you some buckets from range. James Harden with his step back can get you buckets from range. So will that really matter as much? Who knows? And a lot of people have been saying they should play Claxton, one of their younger players, because he's been decent as a center. Well, and they also have Blake Griffin. But again, I can't put too much stock in Blake Griffin. He's kind of not the same as he has been. Um, but overall, I think the Brooklyn Nets beat them, we'll say in 5. We'll say the Nets beat them in 5 because it's really hard to stop a high-powered offense when it's clicking. So yeah, I'll say the Nets in 5. And then the next round is Sixers versus Knicks. Julius Randle's going to play well, and so is RJ Barrett. But again, this is still a very young team. And although they're a good defensive team, I don't see them getting past the Sixers. I just don't. There's just a lot more experience on the Sixers' part. And I think that's just what's going to kill the Knicks in the end. And I think that series ends in 5. The Sixers beat the Knicks. But who knows? Maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe the Knicks will Like I said with the Browns, they might fuck around and win a championship. ¿Recuerdas ese? I freaking said that for the
Well,
Browns. Yeah, that would have been funny if they did, though. That would have been funny if they did.
well,
Uh,
they've done better in recent years, so it may become more likely in the future. We'll see.
yeah, but I at this point I don't suspect the Knicks giving that much of a fight. I mean, at most like 6 games if they get lucky or if they really put their mind to it. But I think it ends in 5. We'll say the Knicks get like 1 game off of them. Because I don't see it being a sweep. If it is, then that kind of sucks. But
No,
I don't, because I think again the league has gotten a lot more talented this year, so I don't see anybody going all the way 100%. Like I don't see anybody sweeping anybody.
no.
I mean, if it happens, it happens, but I don't see that happening. And then the Bucks versus the Nets. So see, this is a team that a lot of people had that can beat the Nets, and yeah, maybe they can, maybe they take, but see, I think that weren't the Nets also a very highly efficient? Yeah, they're the number one, and the Bucks are number two, so they're gonna match them offensively. They're gonna match offensively as far as defensive rating. Because let's see, the Bucks, yeah, that's the thing. The Bucks are top 10. And maybe that gives the Nets their test. And I think that's what people are saying because they're not as good defensively. But we'll see what happens in the playoffs. I think after I see the Nets face the Celtics, I'll kind of figure out how it is from there. But right now, I think that series goes the distance. I mean, I there's obviously I can see the Bucks beating the Nets too in some regard, but it's possible, but I don't personally think that it will. I think KD can play really well. I know the last time they played the Bucks, KD got blocked by Giannis, but I mean, I don't think Giannis is gonna get him every time because KD is extremely skilled. Um, I guess Drew can neutralize either Harden or I think he's probably more likely going to go after Harden, and then Chris Middleton could guard like a couple of positions, maybe give Kyrie a little bit of issues here and there. But in the end, I think the Nets win, and that one goes the distance in 7. And so then the conference finals. It's the Nets versus the Sixers. That one, that one again, I think that one can go either way. But ultimately, it's going to really come down to because I don't think the Nets have a big man that can stop Embiid. Like even if KD has to try and do that himself, I don't see KD being able to stop Embiid. Um, the thing again that's going to kill them is the lack of shooting from Ben Simmons. But they do have some decent shooters this year. So, but again, let's see as far as 3-point shooting. I mean, they have blocks and steals per game. They're top 2 in both of those. Yeah, they're not even top 5 in 3-pointers, but let's see the advanced stats. Effective field goal percentage. Yeah, surprising for a big man to not be. I mean, but again, Embiid also shoots a little bit more threes, so they're not even top 20. So see, that could be the difference between the Sixers winning and the Nets winning. Because again, a high-powered offense is hard to stop when it's on, but they have nobody to really guard Joel Embiid. He's really too strong for a team like this. This is hard, and I might even have to go bold. I might have to say this might because everyone wants the Nets in the finals, and I can like again I could see either the Nets or the Sixers in the finals. But I think I'm gonna go Sixers because Embiid is just too strong. And I know he's had his struggles in the playoffs himself, but I don't think he struggled as bad as most people think because when they had Jimmy Butler, they were just one fucking bounce away from going to the finals. One, you know, Kawhi Leonard shot away from going to the finals. So I think Embiid can get it done, especially with the leap he's taken this year. I think he'll get it done. So I see the Lakers versus the Sixers in the finals. And I know people are going to give me so much shit for that. But I think considering what I'm seeing and how they've played, I think people are I think the Sixers have a chance. Now, if it's the Sixers versus the Lakers in the finals, AD is a lot more efficient of a shooter than Embiid is. I mean, he's going to give AD problems in the paint, but I think as a shooter, AD is going to be a lot more efficient. And of course, LeBron is LeBron James. So if anything, if it ends up being the Sixers in the finals, I think I think the Lakers win. Hell, even I guess even if the Nets make the finals. It's possible that the Nets could also win if they make it against the Lakers. Because again, I know Schroeder is an amazing player, but I don't see him being able to stop Kyrie. And yeah, AD could probably go after Kevin Durant, but who knows? I think Kevin Durant can find ways around people like that. I mean, yes, AD is strong, but I don't think he's as strong as Embiid. Like if the Nets happen to get past Embiid, then I can see the Nets being able to do it. But actually, Schroeder would be more so guarding Harden, and that's a heavy task. And again, this is all dependent because James Harden has had his struggles in the playoffs for many years. So that's also going to be a huge factor for the Nets. If Harden like just plays like MVP Harden throughout the playoffs, then I see them making the finals and possibly winning it. But if James Harden struggles royally, they might lose in the conference finals. And like if the Nets make it, I can see a world where they win in like in six, maybe seven. But if the Sixers make it, which I'm making my prediction, I think the Lakers win in six. So the Lakers will become back to back champions. And with that happening, that would solidify LeBron James like really hardcore. Because to come out of the play in and storm all the way to the finals to win it, that would pretty much solidify his career. It might even put him over Jordan. He might not even need to get a sixth ring. That's just how I see it. Because that's a lot of fucking high odds against him. You know what I mean?
Right. And to overcome that, that's no small feat.
Yeah. So if that happens, and again, because we're considering Brooklyn a super team, is say if they go against Brooklyn, then yeah, he definitely is. I will admit better than Jordan if that happens.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I just I just don't know if that will happen this year.
So what?
Because,
Okay. So what are your takeaways from what I said?
well, I mean, yeah, I do agree with you as far as between Utah and Memphis that Utah will win the first round. But I still think maybe I could probably see it going to six, maybe seven games. Dallas and LA, of course, I always want my Mavs to win. So it's I could see our Mavs winning in seven, but maybe LA could win it in six. So maybe LA may have a little bit of an edge. So maybe LA in six.
All right.
Um, Denver for sure. Even though Portland, Lillard has just them at times, but lately this season he's been on it. But I have a feeling Denver may pull out, and I'll say six games.
All right. Okay.
And then for Phoenix and LA, that yeah, no, that's a tough one. But I feel how well Phoenix has been doing, I think they'll maybe pull it in. I'll say 7 games because I think LA.
Ándale, so tú crees que es el Phoenix.
I
Ah,
think
okay.
so. I think so, but I'd probably go to 7 games because LA is tough regardless.
Interesting. So you don't see LA getting out of the first round. Okay.
I don't know, man. I just feel that Phoenix has done so well. I really don't think they're gonna give any room for the Lakers to win it, but we'll see what happens. I mean, they've come back from some heavy odds, but that's I just feel I think you know as much as much the crap Phoenix has taken us, I think I think they'll do it. But I still think
Okay.
Phoenix will pull up against Denver in the semifinals to go to the conference, and then
Ah, you have them going beating
I can see the
Denver.
clear. I really think they can beat them. I really do.
Hmm.
You know,
Okay.
with Phoenix is pretty healthy considering, and like you said, Denver's missing a couple pieces, so
Hmm.
I think Phoenix can pull it off. But of
Qué
course,
interesante.
it's very
Hmm.
hard to play. It's very hard to play in Denver. It is really hard to play in Denver. So that's going to be the challenge for Phoenix. I mean, you notice like a lot of visiting teams have a hard time beating Denver because of where they are.
Yeah, overall the atmosphere and because they're so highly elevated, I get you.
But I still think Phoenix can pull it off. Um,
You said
I think
LA versus
LA.
Utah
I think LA will pull it out in maybe 6 games.
in Utah.
Against Utah.
And so you have the Suns and the Clippers in the conference finals.
Yeah.
Okay. Like
As
I
far
won't
as
fault you, but I don't know. Like I won't fault you because I mean Phoenix has been good and people have been sleeping on them, but I don't know. There's just a small part of me that does see LA winning. But yeah, I continue. Sorry.
yeah, well, yeah, in the conference finals against Phoenix and LA, that's a tough one. I wouldn't mind either of these teams going to the finals because they've never been. So,
Well, no. Phoenix has been. They just never won.
oh wait, when was that? I thought they
Yeah,
never made it past
remember?
the conference finals.
No, remember? They've been to the finals against the Celtics in the '80s. They've been to the finals against the Bulls in the '90s when Charles Barkley was on the Suns. Yeah, that was in I think '92.
Oh,
No. Wait, was it 91? Was
because
maybe nine?
the Bulls
Maybe
played against the
'93?
Jazz. The Bulls played against the Jazz in '95, I think.
No. It was '90. It was '97 and '98. They
Oh,
played the
90,
Jazz.
that was
'96.
the last. Oh, that was the last one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
'96 they played the Sonics. It was '93. I think it was '93 they played against Phoenix.
Okay, 93. Okay. Well then, all right. But I think Phoenix may pull it off and go to the finals again.
Hmm.
I don't know, man. It
Wow,
just
you're going really bold here. Ah.
I mean, just see him doing so well.
Este
Like you
vato
said,
tiene cojones.
I just think Phoenix could finally do it this year. Even though there's
Okay.
another bunch of teams I would like to see
I
happen
mean,
too,
it would
but
be cool. It would be cool to see Chris Paul in a finals. It would be nice. I don't see it happening because again, I really cannot count out LeBron James. But if it does happen, I wouldn't mind. I would like to see Chris Paul win a ring. That would be cool.
yeah. I mean, for the East, yeah, I see Philly probably winning it in 5 against Washington.
Hmm.
For
Okay.
New York and Atlanta, I'll say 7 games because
And who do you,
I think that's going to be a tough one.
so who do you think?
Milwaukee, Miami.
Oh wait, who wins that one though? You didn't say?
I said the Knicks. The
Oh, the
Knicks
Knicks win it.
may.
Oh, okay, handle.
I think the Knicks could probably. I think the Knicks could probably do it. They surprised me. So let's see. I could be mistaken, but I'm
Yeah, we
not
could both be. I mean, because
discounting
I
Atlanta.
could see a deal where the Hawks win. I mean, it's possible, but yeah.
Yeah, but I see the Knicks playing against Philly in the semi finals. Milwaukee, Miami. I think Milwaukee will pull it off this time in 6 games.
So you agree with
Uh,
me on that one? Okay.
yeah. Brooklyn and Boston. I really think that Boston will beat them in 5. I really no, no, not Boston. Brooklyn.
I
Brooklyn
was
will
about to
beat
say,
Boston.
damn, bro,
No, 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 no. Sorry. I
you're
meant
going
Brooklyn.
Super Bowl, listen.
No, no, no. I meant Brooklyn will
I
beat
know.
Boston in
I
5.
was just like, damn,
I
okay.
was like, no, no. No, Brooklyn will beat Boston in 5 games and go up against Milwaukee. Between Philly and the Knicks, I think Philly will pull it off. I think Philly will pull it off in 5 against the Knicks. As much as I would like to see the Knicks go on, but they still got a lot of work to do. And then Brooklyn and Milwaukee. Oh, I'm sorry. I really think Brooklyn will do it, but I think that will probably go maybe to I'll say 6 games.
Oh wow, you don't think it'll go the distance? You think that the wait, did I? Because I did I say that the yeah, I think I said that the Bucks and the Nets would go the distance. So you think it'll end in 6 games?
Probably.
Okay.
I think it'll end in 6, but
Es
maybe
tu
you could be
opinión,
right
ya,
with
está
7.
bien.
We'll see.
Yeah.
And so, uh, Brooklyn and Philly. I think that's going to go to 7 games. But as far as who's going to win it, that's going to be a tough one. I wouldn't mind either one. Okay, I'll probably I'm going to say Brooklyn in 7.
Okay.
I'll say Brooklyn in 7. I mean, I know Embiid's tough, but I have a feeling. I don't know if their defense. I mean, if their offense holds out against Philly's defense, I think Brooklyn can do it. So I could see the Brooklyn. I could see Brooklyn and Phoenix in the finals.
That's it. So wow, that's an interesting prediction. And then, so who do you have winning? Because this will be very interesting.
Oh man, for two teams that have never won. Oh Lord, I really, I really wanted to see the Nets win one with Kidd on the team back then, but that didn't happen. And then of course the Suns when Barkley was there. I think I'm gonna say the Suns in 7.
En
I'll say the
serio, the
I
Suns?
I would think so. I don't know, man.
Damn, bro. This guy is going real
Well, like I
fucking
said, but
bold.
like I said, 7 games.
Ah,
So
I mean,
it could probably be
maybe, but
either.
dude, I don't know. If it's the Suns and the Nets, I think the Nets would beat them because, dude, they're a super team technically. I'm not saying that they're not gonna have issues, but I don't know, dude.
Well, like I said, that's why I said 7 games because I think either one could take it. But I maybe I'll go ball. I'll say the Suns.
Oh wow, that's very bold.
But I wouldn't mind if Brooklyn won it. But like I said,
Like
that's
I thought my prediction of the Sixers was bold, but bro, you went super fucking bold. You went fucking like ¿cómo se llama? Neon green fucking bold. No mames. Dude, okay. I mean, it's
they're
your
just
opinions, your
predictions.
predictions, your prediction, your opinions, your opinion. Está bien. But man, okay. I don't think I mean I don't know. Of course we're gonna have people probably shitting on our predictions anyway. So it doesn't matter.
It's not a
Like this is for fun, you know? Like I
yeah.
love sports and I'm just using the statistics as I personally see it. Again, I'm not the biggest statistics guy. Again, I didn't look at personal like one-on-one player statistics because that also plays a huge factor. Which that's why for you, that's why I don't necessarily agree with the if the Suns and the Nets faced off in the finals that the Suns would win because overall they have three dudes, two of them MVP caliber players. That's why I don't personally see it, but if that's how you feel, that's fine. I mean, Chris Paul is a very good defensive guard. He probably would isolate Harden pretty well. Um, Devin Booker, yeah, I guess you could see him taking on Kyrie, but I don't know. That's hard for me to say with certainty that they would win. But it's your opinion's your opinion. Um, but yeah, like my deal again, I was just going based upon statistics. Again, anything could happen. I mean, you could be right, and the Suns beat the Lakers, and that would be probably. And see, would that be considered an? Because if the Lakers beat the Suns, would that be considered an upset just because they're the higher seed, or would it be more of an upset if Phoenix beat LA?
Well,
Because because
I
everyone
say,
probably preferred the Lakers over the Suns. You know
well,
what
I'd
I mean?
say,
It's perspective.
well, I say the latter because they're the defending champions. So even though they've struggled, I kind of consider that an upset because you can't count them out. Bouncing back. So I mean, I would think Phoenix beating LA would be an upset, but of course, Phoenix being the higher seed, I mean, that could be an upset too. I don't know, but I just look. They're defending champs, and they are still dangerous nonetheless.
Yeah. So wow. So those are our predictions. You can let us know what you think in the comment section. But before we go, I kind of want to kind of give our ideas of what would be pretty big upsets within this, and then say a few announcements, and then we'll just kind of sign out from there. And we'll consider doing some other stuff in the future, not just like because it is a sports cast, but I need to start doing stuff that kind of like makes things a little bit more lighthearted and kind of fun to get into as well. Because everybody seems to talk about other things besides the sports aspect, and a lot of these, NBA YouTubers and sports YouTubers. So, a ver, we'll see. But as far as upsets that I can see happening, um, Dallas versus the Clippers, I could see that occurring if they play their cards right. Portland versus Denver, I can see that happening. Uh, because see again, it's dependent on whether you consider LA upset beating Phoenix an upset. Do you consider that an upset? If that is, then yeah, that's an upset I can see. Um, Atlanta beating New York, but see, it's it's dependent on who you talk to because that will just be like, that's just a very Knicks thing that happens. They just lose in the first round. I don't know. Miami beating Milwaukee, I consider a pretty big upset. I think that could happen. A lot of people, I think anybody that beats Brooklyn would be considered an upset. In all honesty, like it doesn't matter what round it happens, it'll be an upset because that's what everyone is because they're a super team, right? So that's what everyone has in planet. It's championship or bust for them. So that's like whether if the Milwaukee Bucks beat Brooklyn, then yeah, I can consider that an upset. If Philly beats Brooklyn, that's an upset. But I think I think the Sixers have a chance to beat Brooklyn. I could see either of those teams making the finals. Those are probably my two front runners. Um, and then LA beating Brooklyn if LA is in the finals, or any team that faces Brooklyn in the finals, if they beat Brooklyn, it's an upset. So yeah, any round for Brooklyn would be an upset. What do you think? Do you agree, or do you see anything else being more of a better upset
No, I kind of agree with those assessment. So
that you can actually see happening? Yeah, that actually
yeah,
would realistically happen.
yeah, I agree.
All
I
right.
mean, I can't think of anything else other than that. So, like I said, nothing's set in stone. If we could see the future, then what fun would that be trying to guess?
And that's why they're called predictions. I mean, we'll see what people say. Hopefully, they don't tear us apart, pero ni modo. Es mi
They don't
opinión,
have
es tu
to.
opinión.
Well, man, they don't have to agree with us. It's our thoughts.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, will play out.
hmm So, yeah. So as far as moving forward, um, there may not be an episode next week only because I'm trying to get everything situated and moved. Um, and if there is, great. If not, ni modo. But one thing I'm wanting to try when I do get settled is to be a little bit more present on Locker Room. What I'm trying to consider doing is maybe doing a segment for my channel called uh, It's for all hot takes and just discussion. It's I'm gonna call it hot tamales. Hot tamales, where everybody talks about their hot takes like on there and just argues or well, I'm not gonna say argue. I want civil debate. I don't want people cussing each other out. I mean, if a few cuss words slip here and there, no me importa. Pero if you're being an asshole,
Be
un
respect. Yeah,
pendejo,
I would say
if
be
you're being a
respectful,
pendejo
man.
about it, then no, no, I'm kicking you out. Um, but I'm just wanting like civil discussion about their hot takes. And yeah, and of course, there's going to be people that are backing up with statistics, and because that's how, because I want to learn more about how the statistics work. So I think this would be a good way for me to delve into it. You know, I'm I don't look again, and I'll say it here and now because I have a feeling I'm going to hear this when I started off. I was like, you're stupid, dude. You don't know shit. And it's like, whatever, dude. I'm not the statistics guy, but that does not make me stupid. Okay, I go off of what I see. I go off of what I've watched, and I will use some statistics that I can understand enough. But if I'm wrong, I will admit when I'm wrong. And there's no harm and foul to that. But please know this. If you come at me with a certain energy that is rude, I'm going to come back with the same because soy del Paso ese. Like, we don't fuck around. We don't fuck
No.
around in El Paso. So that's just all I'm going to say on that. But that's what I'm wanting to do. Um, ¿qué, ¿Qué quieres decir, bro?
No, I mean, same here. I'm also going to be moving to my own place soon, finally. So it's going to be a minute before, you and I start creating content again like we were doing now that I'm done with school, just trying to get all the live stuff situated and then move forward. And I think we should be good, man. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Finally, moving forward with the stuff we want to do and live life. So I'm excited. But like I said, until we get situated with our new places, you know, it'll wait a little bit, but I'm looking forward to afterwards.
Ándale, pues. Yeah, and that's going to be good once everything's all ready to go, man. Because I'm excited to get stuff back out there again. I mean, I'm also going to be trying to work towards my certification still, but I think I'll make this work because I'll have a little bit more time. And you will too. So,
Yeah, finally. Finally.
but yeah, ándale, pues. Suscríbete a mi canal y hasta el próximo, mi gente. Adiós, adiós.
Adios.
Y también sigue a MarkTip25 en LockerRoom Twitter y Facebook.